Welcome to the hot seat. Dr. Fred Membe is a Zambian politician, a journalist, a lawyer, economist, and activist. He's currently the president of the Socialist Party of Zambia and running for president in the August 13th, 2026 general elections. Miss Dolika Banda is niece of late President Dolika Banda and has over 30 years experience in banking, finance across Africa, Europe, Latin America, Caribbean, and in the USA. Now, Dr. Membe and Miss Banda join me on the hot seat this morning. I'm your host. My name is Peter Zulu. Allow me to welcome you to the hot seat and allow me to welcome my two guests this morning. Madam Banda, Dr. Membe, good morning and welcome to the hot seat. Thank you very much. We're live on Kwitu FM, 93.3 FM. We're live on Kanela FM in Lundazi on 97.7 FM. You can catch the show live on YouTube. That's Hot FM Zambia. Live on Facebook. That's Hot FM Zambia. You can listen to us countrywide on GSTV, channel 912, Go TV, channel 301. All right. As we begin the show this morning, Dr. Membe, I'll start with you because yesterday you officially unveiled Ms. Dolika Banda as your 2026 running mate. Beyond being the daughter of our late Fourth Republican President, Dr. Dolika Banda, the public knows very little about her political DNA. Well, I'll give you a chance to break it down to the people. Who is Dolika Banda?
Dolika Banda is a citizen of this country. Dolika Banda was born in this country, grew up in this country, and also interacted with other societies, other nations. She has gone to school here and outside the country like many other citizens. She has worked in this country. She has worked outside the country. She has lived outside the country. She has lived here. She's from here. She's an intellectual. She's a business person. She's a professional. And the leadership that we're trying to construct as the People's Pact today is a leadership that includes all our leaders. Political, religious, traditional, business, trade unions, professionals, and so on. One group cannot manage to lead this country. Politician ekatitapanisha okuteka ekyangwe ekyokungula ekyangwe. Politician tentungulushi ya kyangwe eka. Twalikwata ntungulushi na shimbi. Twalikwata bashima pepo. Twalikwata infumushesu. We have got people from the business circles, leadership, trade unions, professionals, and so on and so forth. So she comes from some of these. You can say she comes from the intellectual leadership or the professional leadership. She comes from the business leadership. And also, what is politics? Politics has no class of people who are simply said to be politicians. Today, Peter, you can register as a councillor to stand in the coming elections. You can register to stand as mayor of Lusaka. You can file in nomination to stand as a member of parliament. You can file in nomination to stand as a presidential candidate in the next elections. From the newsroom, you haven't been participating in politics, you don't belong to a political party, but you are entering the political arena. Politics is not a career per se, although people turn it into a career. Politics is a calling, it's a practice. All those who participate in the governance of the country engage in political work. So even some of the work you are doing as a journalist, they have got a political connotation. You are also involved in the governance of the country as a journalist. But probably you'll be called a politician when you step in to seek public office. Dolika has been doing that. She has been involved in the affairs of this country in many ways. Not only from the professional side or the business side, but also from the social side, from the religious side, from the traditional side. She's involved. She lives a complete life, like any of us. She's a complete being. Some don't even understand that she's very well rooted culturally in the Chewa, Ngoni, Nsenga traditions. Na Chinsenga chilakula, Chichewa chilakula, na Chivembe.
Dr. Membe, I want to ask the questions that are, I would term as the elephant in the room. Questions that arose after this announcement was made about the choice of Ms. Dolika Banda, because it was said that you have vice presidents within the Socialist Party and the pact, yet you have reached out outside to someone critics have described her as a corporate genius, but a political novice. Why was it necessary to bypass party insiders for Ms. Banda? What does she have to offer that's better than the people that are already in the party that have somewhat political experience, per se?
Let me start with a broader view of it.
Yes.
Zambia's future, like its past, will depend on how we negotiate questions of leadership, how we negotiate accountability, how we negotiate national purpose. And that cannot be just left to a small clique of people calling themselves politicians. The People's Party itself, to which she belongs, to which she is the vice president today, is not comprising only of politicians. It has people from the religious circles. It has people from traditional leadership. It has people from business. In fact, the people who championed the People's Party, who initiated it, are not politicians. They are ordinary citizens who are very civic-minded, who want the best for their country. These are lawyers, some of them are lawyers, some of them are religious people, some of them are business people. They came together, they have been working for a year and a half now to try and help construct a leadership that can meet the challenges, the leadership challenges of this country in the 21st century, and build a Zambia that is more fair, more just, more humane, and prosperous. So it is this leadership behind the scenes that has been helping us construct this leadership. It's this leadership that has invited me and others. And the decision to take my sister Dolika as vice president was not a decision of one person. It was a collective decision. All of us, if you attended the press briefing yesterday, you would see that everybody involved in the leadership was very happy, including those behind the scenes. We are very happy to have her. And we have been seeking. They have been seeking the quality of leadership that Dolika brings in. It's not a favor to Dolika. It's not a favor to her because she's a woman. It's not a favor to her because she's a professional, and so on. It's simply a calling to duty. There's a big job to do. There are huge sacrifices to be made. Tepambale. Sambe musemuli awe. It's work to be done.
If I'm
there
getting...
are sacrifices to be made. But I can tell you, everybody is very happy. There's no one who is disgruntled.
If I'm getting you right, when you say everyone, you mean everyone in the pact. And just to be clear, this is not a Fred Membe pick. This is the People's Party's pick.
Yes. It's not me. I don't have the powers to make those decisions. I don't own the pact. I don't have even the powers that I have in the Socialist Party, in the constitution of the Socialist Party. I don't have them in the People's Pact. The People's Pact is a grouping of many people, individuals, groups, political parties, and so on, who have come together to try and build a better Zambia, reset the country over the next 5 years. So People's Party is not Socialist Party. Even the policies program that the People's Party are pursuing, they are not Socialist Party. It's unfortunate that the candidates will be fielded on the Socialist Party ticket, because the People's Party as a corporate entity cannot field the candidates. It's a company, it's an entity registered with PACRA. It's not registered with the Registrar of Societies, so it can't field candidates in its own right. So we had to look around which is the most suitable vehicle to use. And again, it was unanimously agreed that we use the Socialist Party. But using the Socialist Party does not mean bringing the Socialist Party to run the People's Party. No, the Socialist Party does not run the People's Party. Its programs, its policies are not Socialist Party programs and policies. We all sat down. All the stakeholders in the People's Party agreed on what to do.
Is everyone happy, Dr. Membe? Because we usually get this where when a pact is made and such a bold decision is made, people begin to speak to other people that they have seen you, champion socialism with through and through, who they feel have been sidelined. Are those people the people that are watching from the sidelines, are they happy too with this decision?
Those from the Socialist Party gave us a mandate to do what we are doing today in September 2024 at the last Congress, the second Congress of the Socialist Party. They gave us the mandate. In fact, it was an order: go out and seek to work with others. Go and create the alliances that are needed with others. So we have the full mandate of the Socialist Party. Yes, some may not agree with the day-to-day decisions we make. That's how life is. But we have the full mandate to do what we are doing, to enter into alliances with others, into movements with others. And that's what we have done with the People's Party. So there will be no problems from the Socialist Party side. Inside the People's Party, this is the decision they made. Those who created this project, for lack of a better word, I would call the trustees of this project, are part of this decision. They had interactions with Dolika. All the key leaders of the People's Party met and sat with Dolika for half a day. They spent the whole afternoon with her, talking to her, listening to her also. She also listened to all the key leaders of the People's Party. Professor Lieutenant Colonel Naison Ngoma, Dr. Simuyemba, Honorable Sichinga, Dr. Musumari, Apostle Hector Sondo, among many others, sat with Dolika for many hours, not 1 hour, many hours, with the people she works with. She has not come alone, she has also got a team of people she works with, who also had to buy into this project. So what you are seeing, yes, you are seeing Dolika but alone, but she has got other people she has come with into this project with different responsibilities, different skills.
So what you're guaranteeing us right now, Dr. Membe, is that we won't see a faction of the People's Pact based on this decision that has been made today. Everyone is happy.
I cannot predict human behavior, but what I can tell you is I'm very confident the decision, because the decision was made with consensus. No voting where you say this one has abstained, this one is against, this one is for. We all agreed. If people change their minds, I have no control over that.
Okay. I want to bring in Madam Dolika in this conversation. She's been here listening to the two of us speak about her like she's not in the room, but she's in the room for those listening and watching. As Ms. Banda, your CV is very rich, undeniably. It's very prestigious. You're former CEO of African Risk Capacity, director at the IFC, and a board chair at ZCCMIH. However, high-level finance often, feels far removed from the lady on the street selling kandolo, or the family struggling with meal prices. As a development finance expert, what specific practical solutions are you bringing to the table to lower the cost of living for the average Zambian today? And after you give us your answer, I'll allow Dr. Membe to also chip in into that question.
Thank you so much. I just want to touch on what Dr. Membe has been discussing just now,
Yes.
which is good. The decision, I feel very comfortable. It was like I went through an interview. It was an interview that started at the very high level with the trustees, who informed me that they had filled the other VP positions, but they were looking for a running mate. And have been looking for months actually, and this is public knowledge. So it's not a process of Dr. Membe came and said, Dolika, will you do this? No, it is not. I was approached at a very different level, asked to meet with them, and that decision was made after several conversations. It was an interview of them, of me, and vice versa. Because we are entering into a partnership or pact that is based on aligned purpose, aligned values, aligned ideology. So I had to be comfortable, they had to be comfortable. And as life goes, you can never please 100% of the people. Even in an organization where the board brings in a new CEO, there will be people who have been vying for that position. But the board has to make a decision that is in the best interest of the mission, the values, the objective of the company. And I think that's what we should focus on going forward. Let's focus on the issues. There will always be unhappy people, but there will be happy people on the other side. And together, let's get the job done. So I hope I will not have caused disgruntledness in the past. I don't think so. And I hope that I will have added value and that the whole becomes a true vehicle to achieve what we want to achieve in this country. I just had to put that on the table.
All right, no problem.
Let me go to the question that you asked me. You know, people think there is this notion that high finance has no heart. That high finance is ruthless.
That's the narrative that's out there.
That is the narrative that is out there about me in particular. I don't know about other people. Bill Gates has a foundation. They do help. Jeff Bezos has a foundation. They do education. It doesn't mean because you have been in the capital world, in the world of finance, that you don't have a heart for the people. And I think people should remember what I have done. Although I started with Barclays, Citibank, hard institutions, which also have a heart, actually the bulk of my career has been in development finance. What is development finance about? I was mine on the street. I have my own relatives, as Buruwano, who are the very image of that as well. So I'm not far removed from that, and I need people to understand. In fact, the high finance has helped me, even at the personal level, to do development. Every October, you get a call that says, Assisi, Amulam, Akul, Kunotunga budget yauli. Budget yauli. They need to start preparing for the rainy season. I have to do that. And I do it. And I do it with an open heart. Because, and I'm going to get a little bit spiritual here with you, I do not believe that God lifted from Livala Primary School, Mkandawire then, took me to Northmead, took my father away at the age of 10, and then had me land in Washington, D.C., and in London, and in Paris, and in Johannesburg. That was not my own smartness. I need people to understand when God has given you a talent, there's a high expectation of you that you will multiply that talent. And for me, multiplying that talent is bringing all of my knowledge, bringing all of my exposure to try and improve this country for everybody, so that we create a Zambia that works for every Zambian. In my family, in my immediate, in my extended family, we have people living in Binda, we have people living in Matero, we have people living in Uchbata, in the village, Kwamkosi, Kwasoko. And remember, I come from a family where I grew up half Bemba, so to speak, and of course half Eastern. So, right now as we're speaking, I have an aunt from my Bemba side of the family under medication. So I think when Rose chifuka numayira chiswo vekuveka chifuka nukuwala manukuwalika chifuka nukwela ndeke nkuyakwa nufuna ndanulayira chifrench. That does not make me less so as I am. So that woman that you're talking about, that man that you're talking about, that boy, every time you get out of my house, what do I see? Even on Sunday you see them to say la boy. abantu babuya makolo nokuthi abana wena ukuphunzira ayikini manana makolo ngakho mambu ngathi bakokhulira pama street bakakhulira ma street bakakhulira ma street. And then what do we have as a generation, the future generation? For me, this is about building the future generation.
And maybe if I may just chip in. Dolika is not in a unique position totally from the other leaders of the People's Party. You look at Honorable Sichinga, one of the vice presidents. Honorable Sichinga was one of the early chartered accountants of this country. He was a top executive in the CCM. He went to Harvard. He has got an MBA from Harvard. He spent a lot of time in the UK, spent time in the USA, and worked at top corporate levels. He has been a member of parliament twice. First for what is now Mafinga, which was the Soccer East then. He has been a member of parliament for Kafiwe. That's a top executive, business executive, a business expert. He has been Minister of Agriculture. He has been a Minister of Commerce. You have another Vice President, Professor Lieutenant Colonel Nelson Ngoma. The Lieutenant Colonel tells you he was in the military. He was a senior officer in the Zambia Air Force. He did economics. He did the security studies. He has taught. He has researched. He has worked for many international organizations, including the UN. He is one of our vice presidents. You look at Dr. Msumali. Dr. Msumali got his PhD in 1990 from West Germany, as it was then called. He has spent most of his time in Europe and married there and had children there. He has worked for many European governments. He has worked for USAID, for so many international agencies. He has set up health systems in many African countries. He is with us. You have got myself. My background is business. My first degree was Bachelor of Accountancy. I'm an economist. I'm a lawyer. I'm a business expert. My first PhD or doctorate was in business. The second one in economics. I come from the corporate world as well. I was with KPMG, Pitmark, as an audit senior. I've audited over 50 companies in this country. I was financial accountant in my mid-20s for Zambia State Insurance. So we have much in common. Leadership does not only come from a certain group calling itself politicians. Even Kwame Nkrumah. Kwame Nkrumah was a professional who lived in the USA for a very long time. Wasn't he a good leader? Don't we cherish Nkrumah today? Haven't we anchored our Pan-Africanism on Nkrumah's teachings? Wasn't most of Africa liberated with Nkrumah's support and guidance, including Zambia? Kaunda was a disciple of Nkrumah. Simon Kapwepo was a disciple of Nkrumah. Ruben Kamanga was a disciple of Nkrumah, among many others of our leaders. So it's not strange. Even for us who are on the left, who was Fidel Castro? Fidel Castro was a lawyer with a PhD in law. He was not your everyday politician. So what Dolika brings in is normal, and that's the way it should be, and we need such people.
I want to circle back to my question to both of you, so that we get this understanding, because a pact has different ideologies that are coming together, and we need to know how the pact, how that ideology will harmonize with the different ideas that are coming together. Again, I'll ask this. I'll throw it back to Madam Banda, then Dr. Membe can chip in as well. For you as a development finance expert, what specific practical solutions are you bringing to the table to lower the cost of living for the average Zambian today?
So I think if one understands the fundamentals of development finance, it is about inclusivity in the economic cycle. It is about access to finance. It is about developing economic systems that are resistant and resilient to external shocks, sometimes internal shocks. It is about establishing, because you want to achieve all of those, inclusivity, access to finance, transformation of a market. What transforms a market? It is middle businesses. Top corporates will give us the big monies, but it is the middleman, the small and medium enterprises that are going to become the anchor of this economy. And in development finance, what we always talk about is providing two anchors, three anchors, to that small and medium sector enterprise. Number one, access to finance. We will work with the banking sector, in fact I should say the financial markets, because it's not just banks that can facilitate access to finance. Insurance companies have asset management companies. Those asset management companies can be not forced, we are not dictators, but we should work with them to say, can you redirect X amount of your profits into developing? They are not handouts. We want to take strong, functioning, middle, small enterprises, turn the smalls into middle, the middles into corporates. Then let some of the corporates will even become conglomerates. We only think of conglomerates. A trade kings is an unusual thing in Zambia. We need more like that. They started small. But had they had the appropriate facilitating environment in terms of access to finance, as opposed to our banks largely making money from treasury bills, safe, comfortable sources of income. You must take risk.
How are you going to encourage the banks, the private sector, the private players that are in it for the profits, and I know you know what I'm talking about, to actually risk with these SMEs and so that they grow? And I'm glad that you've highlighted that it's not a risk appetite that we see in the financial sector. They're not really willing to take the risk with the average Zambian startup that is trying to get this business off the ground. How are you going to convince them to do that?
There are different ways of doing it. And I want to be very clear here that I am not saying we're going to increase taxes. But there is an indirect way of incentivizing banks, and we've done this in development finance. If you talk to some of the microfinance institutions that we have worked with as IFC, you encourage them to lend a certain amount to a certain sector, and they get our loans at a reduced rate. Sometimes it can be from the beginning, and then you work. So the bigger your SME book grows, we will reduce in ratchets the cost of funding that we give to you. That's number one. Shareholders, number two. You know, a lot of individual shareholders of some of these institutions. You talk to them. Shareholders fundamentally are people like you and I. And I'm not saying this is something that I'm dreaming out of the sky. In the work that I am doing with the company called Mondiale. Mondiale is about governance in structures, in institutions. One of the things that we work on is getting lessons from different parts of the world of how doing good can also do well. That is a terminology you will hear in development finance. We do good and we do well. So IFC makes money. BII, British International Investment, makes money. Finca makes money. We must look at these models, and at the higher levels, so the banking sector has larger balance sheets than the thinkers that we're talking about. You can demonstrate to people that you can do good and do well. Let's take CSI. Almost every financial institution in this country and globally has corporate social responsibility or corporate social investment, I like to call it. We work them to redirect. Instead of doing small things that don't have an impact, economic impact, can we work together to have an economic impact? Pakistan has a small business association. They work with the banks, together with the banks. The government can structure a bond, for example, where government gives the receipt. We take the last risk, and it usually does not materialize. You issue a bond. On top of that bond, the banks come, and you raise funds that are specifically designed to fund the SME sector. This is one instrument that has been proven to work in different parts of the country, including Nigeria, including Ghana. Why can't we replicate it here?
Okay. Dr. Membe, you wanted to chip in there.
Yes. Look, God has given us everything that we need to survive in this territory called Zambia. Natupera minerals, natupera menshi, umushi rusuma, and also has put in good human beings who are predominantly young. The median age is 19.3 years. A young population. Young people have the energy to work. What is remaining is for us to use our brains, to use our intellects, to use our energy to transform the resources God has given us into material benefits that can improve the living conditions of our people. Our main aim is to give our people a better life, to give our people a happy life. A happy life that comes from having access to clean water and sanitation. A happy life that comes from having access to quality health services that are affordable. A happy life that comes from sending your children to school and receive quality education, and also to educate yourself if you need to. A happy life that comes from having a secure job. A job that affords you to meet the necessities of life and develop as a human being. But to achieve this, we have to utilize the brains God gave us to the maximum. We have to construct a leadership that can deliver that. The same way this radio station. It's not every Jim and Jake that can come and run this radio station for it to prosper. Those who initiated this project of this radio station of FM used their intellect, hired also people with a capacity like yourself. I can't jump in and do what you're doing. It will collapse. You have special skills, you have special talents that make you able to run this radio station in a more efficient, in a more effective, in a more ordered manner than I can do. So even for the country, we need to develop a leadership at all levels that can help us transform the material resources, the natural resources God gave us. Particularly tapera kuminua paramika fe, na tuparamikira fiance. So to transform those natural resources God has given us, we need a number of mediums to use. You can use sole traders, private businesses, one individual with his family. You can use partnerships, you can use limited liability companies, you can use public companies, and so on, cooperatives. Everything that we can use effectively to transform the natural resources God gave us into material benefits for our people should be done. The skills that the leadership of the People's Pact bring should help us to do that. And that's why those behind this project are making sure they have got capable people. They have got people with the necessary skills to transform the natural resources God gave us into material benefits of our people. Everything must proceed or must start from the people's lives. Today, the poverty levels are too high. These poverty levels cannot be accepted as something ordained on us by God. You can't have 82.6% poverty levels in a region of your country and you go to sleep as leaders, as responsible citizens, without trouble. We have Muchinga today enduring poverty levels of 82.6%. We have Western Province today enduring poverty levels of 78.6%. We have Northern Province enduring poverty levels of 78%. We have Luapula Province enduring poverty levels of 73.3%, 77.3%. We have Eastern Province with poverty levels of 76.4%. These are high poverty levels. Your average rural poverty today stands at 78.8%. It can't work this way. 80% of our people are involved in agriculture, direct or indirect. But they are only contributing 3.5% to the GDP. And this 3.5%, that's what they live on. A part of it, that's what they live on. You need skills that my dear sister Dolika, that Professor Lieutenant Colonel Mason Goma brings in, that Honorable Sichinga brings in, that Dr. Simuyemba brings in, that Apostle Hector Sondo brings in, that Harriet Bwalia Mulenga Katanekwa brings in, and what the trustees behind this project bring in. And also, our duty is not that we carry the wisdom of this country on our heads. Our duty is to lead. Leaders lead, the people govern. Infumu shitungurula fie. Abateka abachitefintu bantu. Temfumu ichitefintu. Infumu shitungurula fie. Our main job is to lead. But we have to lead with clarity. We have to lead with wisdom. We have to lead with awareness, consciousness. We have to lead with the maximum possible knowledge available.
Dr. Membe, I want to get to my next phase of this interview by using you as an example. You've come into politics with the Socialist Party. You've stood by your ideologies. We know you as Dr. Fred Membe, Socialist Party President or Socialist Party member, and you've sold these socialist ideas. I want to bring in Madam Banda here and ask you this question. Your entry into the political arena hasn't, followed a traditional path per se. We have seen you associated with or appearing in different political outfits in a relatively short period. Some might call this searching for a home, while others might call it political inconsistency. Can you set the record straight on your political journey?
Maybe before she comes in, let me address in general terms the issues you have raised. As for us who come from the Socialist Party, at no time have we ever, or will we ever, place our ideology above our people. The people matter than ideology. The people are not subordinate to ideology. Ideology helps us shape the ideas that we need to transform what God has given us into material benefits, as I said earlier. So it's not about ideology. The most important thing is the people's well-being. And that does not just come from socialist ideas. It actually comes from a combination of all the progressive ideas, the most humane ideas, whether they are religious ideas, whether they are cultural ideas, and so on. All these needed to be synthesized. So it really doesn't matter what you believe in. At the end of the day, what matters is what do you do with the people's living conditions.
Okay. Taking that point, Dr. Membe.
Okay. So,
Madam Banda.
Yes. Just to close on your economic question, because there's a lot there. We will be coming to the market with a manifesto. We will be coming to the manifesto. I believe it's within the next 7 to 10 days. 7 to 10 days. The People's Pact will be presenting in a press conference situation the framework of its manifesto. So you will be able to get a lot more detail in about 7 to 10 days' time. I just wanted to put people's minds at rest because it's always about the how. It's not the what, it's not the why, it's about the how. So the how will be coming in a little bit of time. As to me moving from house to house,
Yes.
as people will say, I do not, my vote is not for sale. That's not. When I decided to enter this arena, it was for purpose. It was for purpose, it was for values, it was for ideology, it was for my vision for this country, bold vision for our people, but it was fundamentally about what Dr. Membe has said, my brother here. It was about our people. Nibantu. Why am I doing? You would have heard me many, many times since I put my name on there, that this is about the 22 million people of this country. And I say 22, some will say not all 22 live under $3 a day, but 70% of them do. So it is about the people. And those people are a drag, not in a bad way. They are hindering our ability to actually harness the incredible gifts that this country has been bestowed with. If we can uplift each and every one, each one lift one. That's what I like to say. Each one lift one. If you can lift 10, even better. We need it. You can't be a content soul. Soul, I deliberately use that word. You can't be a content soul when you see so much abject poverty around you. That was the driver for me. Even when I was outside this country, I said to myself, at 50, when I still have enough energy to run, I need to be back in the country, or I need to decide I am going to live in the US or in the UK, a comfortable life. My soul was not happy. And so the drive to go into politics for me is about me, but not about me for selfish reasons, about me for selfless reasons. This is the pinnacle of my career. I'm not entering politics to start my career, to get recognition, to be known as somebody. I'm entering politics to now give of what I have been given. I want to leave this world empty, as a friend of mine said it. Every bit of talent, every benefit, every blessing that I have been given by God, when I go down, I want it to be left here. It is no good to me when I'm in the ground. This is my driver, and I would love that people continue to remember this in order to explain why I have run the journey that I have run. And I have not, in many cases, been the predictor of the outcome. So when that decision was made, I had to come onto the market. I had been thinking about it, but the impetus to act on it happened when I made that announcement about 18 months ago. And it happened because watching what I have been watching since I came back into this country 2015 or so. This election, for me, I feel we are at a precipice as a country. This is not about the last 5 years. This is about decades of a downward trend. The statistics that you are hearing are not just from the last 4 years. This has been happening. And I just felt very strongly at that point, if we don't challenge the way we do our politics, then I might as well pack my bags and go elsewhere.
Okay.
And I was not ready to do it.
Churchill, we have to mind about the way we do our politics. Tekuchinja fechipani chireeteka nakateeka oli ichireefwa kuchinja emitekere kuchinja ama politics nga tatuchinjisha emitekere yachawo kino takuleko tuleya.
Let's talk about imitekere. My Bemba is very bad, forgive me. But I'll get away with it. I'm from the East, so they always forgive me when I use Bemba. Dr. Membe, let's talk about imitekere. The youth make up 70% of our population and are currently grappling with the record unemployment. Both of you talk about creating jobs. But we've heard that, before from other politicians that have promised young people that they will create jobs for young people. What specific structural changes will your administration implement to ensure that Zambian youths are not just employees or laborers, but actual owners of the economy?
There is no country that I know of in this world that has developed without a serious involvement of this young people. And a serious involvement that starts with good education, with informed positions, with getting rid of ignorance, Whatever country you look at, the driving force has been these young people. That's why many countries envy countries like ours with a young population, a median age of 19.3 years. In a world where many countries are facing aging populations, these have got the energy. They may not have the experience that older people have, but a combination of the energy of these young people, energy in terms of physical and intellectual, with the experience of older generations to them, will deliver. And moreover, the future of this country belongs to them. Yes, it belongs to all of us, but much more to the younger people, who have many more years to live. Those with many more years to live, there must be more responsibility towards them, because they will depend on the future of this country. So for us, it's not just doing it for young people, it's doing it with young people. They have to be involved. They have to be involved in the leadership of this country. The future is not built in the future. The future is built on the threshold of the decisions we take today, the actions we take today. These leaders we are calling future leaders, they are leaders of the present and leaders also of tomorrow. They might have not been leaders of yesterday because they were not there, but they are there today and they are living. The problems that we face today as a nation affect them much more. They affect them today and they will affect them also tomorrow. So, in the leadership of the People's Party, young people are participating. There are many layers of leadership. It's not just me and Dolika you see here. There are many layers behind that. And if it was just left to me and Dolika, we can't deliver on this project to achieve a salary.
But behind us, I think it's important to know, behind this leadership of the party is nothing but young people. And I think one of the things we don't do well as a country, partly because of our traditional structures, cultural ways of communicating. We don't respect the minds of young people. We don't respect the voices of young people. One, I'm sorry, if you tell one and that mafuto, by the way, they already have the potential solutions. The number of youth, one of them is challenging me right now. You tell Mr. President, and you're hearing this for the first time. When we were talking to you initially, you said you would have a youth desk in the office of the president to understand our issues and hear our potential solutions and work with us to institutionalize and criminalize. They know the solutions. They are tech savvy. They are creative. They are ambitious. We are losing them to the rest of the region, to the rest of the world because of that smartness. We have to respect the views of young people, and we have to work hand in hand with them to amplify their solutions. When I am 90, I want these guys and girls to be successful, so that I can walk the streets of Lusaka comfortably. I don't want them to be junkies. They don't want to be junkies. Some of them, you sit down with them and they say, I'm forced into this because I have nothing else to do. I don't see an alternative. We have to listen to the voices of these young people.
And how do you bring in young people? You start with education. They are the ones demanding education more than any other group of the citizens of this country. So we are saying we are going to spend a huge proportion of our budget on education. We are looking at 25% of our budget going to education. And even 25% of the budget is not enough. It's not enough. To make it enough or near enough, we have to socialize it.
How does the budget allocation do something different from what we're seeing with the current UPND administration with the free education policy, school feeding programs that we've seen them implement? Now, 25% is a huge jump. So what kind of programs would we see in a People's Pact government?
You are seeing, despite the declarations of free education, which we agree with, we need free education, but it's not matched by resource allocation. I'll give you an example of my village, Muika Royal Village. There's an old primary school there. That school today has 1,080 learners with 4 classrooms, and 10 teachers. It means each class has got 160 learners. These young people, 160 of them in a classroom, a period for learning is 40 minutes. If you divide 40 minutes, it means by 160, it means each child has got only 30 seconds with a teacher. To assembly in some 30 seconds, wafundo and 9 some 30 seconds. Science, nature. That's why when you go this side, you find, they'll tell you and then children, umuntu alipusha grade 12. Each sungu tale umfu. But they were learning English for many years, for 12 years or so. So we are saying, if you don't allocate enough resources to education, no amount of free education declarations are going to change that. And this is what we are facing. The allocation, the disbursements, is even more, probably less than 8%. You can't. Young people also need to be healthy. They need to eat. The metabolism is very high. Their consumption of food is high. You need to produce more food. You need to up your agriculture, produce more food, so that they can have the energy they need. You need healthy young people. You have to provide proper health services that are required in the 21st century. We are saying we are going to allocate 20% of the national budget to health services. I've spoken about food. Food is not just for eating, but also the production of food gives us jobs. As we said, 80% of our people are deployed directly or indirectly in agriculture, producing 3.5% of the GDP. Where are the jobs going to come from? We can't transfer this 80% to services and industry so easily. So we have to take care of them within the sector in which they are operating, which is the agriculture. So we are going to put not less than 10% of our budget into agriculture. That already gives us 55% of the budget gone. How are you going to deal with the others? Yes, you need also 30% to pay the debt. So it needs a very well-informed leadership of the caliber of Dolika, of the caliber of Honorable Sichinga, of the caliber of these many young people we are working with today. That is needed.
I want to chip in before I open the phone lines and allow the people to be part of this conversation and fire some questions at the two of you. Zambia has been locked in a complex relationship with the IMF and debt restructuring for years. If the People's Park takes power, will you continue on the current trajectory of IMF-led reforms, or do you have a plan B that addresses our debt without being without the binding austerity measures that we see now?
Yeah, these institutions were not created for us. They were created for those who were there at that time and those who created them. Institutions belong to those who own them, who created them. When they were being created after the Second World War, we were not sovereign nations. We were colonies. We were appendages of other countries. We have joined these institutions. They should not shape our destiny. They should not design our policies. You can't use other people's programs to develop. We have to think for ourselves. We have to say things for ourselves. We have to analyze things for ourselves and come to our own conclusions And we need to create our own institutions. There's a realization in the world today that that old system is not working for most of the global south. And that's why you're having initiatives like the BRICS and many other African initiatives or third world initiatives or global south initiatives. We need that. It's not new. This was recognized way back in 1955 when third world countries, and they were being called there at that time, went to Indonesia, the Badan conference, trying to shape a destiny for these poor countries. You can't compete with the rich nations that control these institutions. We have to decide our own destiny. You know, in 1965, we did something. We borrowed money from the World Bank to push in education. Schools were built. When you look at the schools that were designed, you'll find the same schools. Zambezi Secondary School is the same as another school in Ghana that was built under the World Bank program. Even the curriculum was designed for us by the World Bank. Another donor comes in, another financier comes in, they change your educational system. They change your health system. They change your agricultural system. And we have been doing that. They will tell you this is homegrown to cover their own inadequacies. Trying to turn weaknesses into virtues. When they know very well that it's not yours. All the consultants, all the advisors, all the programmers are their own. They work for them. We cannot delegate the destiny, the future of our country, other people.
Madam Banda?
Can I emphasize on this? I think I have worked in these institutions. What differentiates the countries that are successful, even if they are borrowing from the IMF and the Bretton Woods institutions, as we call them, is that they own the program. They own the agenda. They design what it is they want these institutions to do. So when I was working on China, for example, as part of IFC, we couldn't, even Ethiopia, let me take an example closer to home. Ethiopia did not allow us to put foreign currency into their banking system because they said we do not want to create a mismatch. People are earning in local currency, banks are earning in local currency, and then you're going to give them a foreign currency loan. If that currency, the exchange rate moves, they are exposed. They said we don't want that. It was very clear what they wanted from these institutions. So even if you are about to build a home, you've already decided, which is what we do not do very well in this country. We do not have integrated policies. Agriculture was talked about earlier. That's say from production to table, distribution and table. At what point can we have Zambians have ownership in this cycle? Everything we do, policy-wise, has got to be an integrated approach. Free education was not an integrated approach. It didn't take into consideration that the sizes, even the physical size of the classroom has not changed, but the number of children have increased threefold, and the teacher is the same. We did not think through this in an integrated way. So for me, when we think about these institutions, whether it's Bretton Woods or any other global lenders, including the big capital markets lenders, you have to have decided, this is the house I want to build, these are the specifications, my Zambian architect has given me what I need, this is how I'm going to repay this house, and I'm going to repay the mortgage, and I'm going to use it in this way. Somebody cannot come in, even I cannot come and tell you, no, you want this house, if I'm going to give you the money, build it according to these specifications.
Is it possible for us to get to that level? Because I'll refer to what the president said, President Hakainde Hichilema, when he was addressing one of the conferences. I forget which one, but he was telling the rest of African leadership to say we need to start drawing up our own plans and giving it to the IMF and not the other way around. You who's been in those circles, is it possible for Zambia, with the current environment we're in, under a leadership of Dr. Membe and Ms. Banda, are we able to do that where we draw up our own rules and sit down with these institutions and tell them these are our rules, and if you're coming in with your money, this is what we are doing, and not doing it by the way you want us to do it?
If I didn't think it was possible, I would have been wasting my time. It is because I think it is possible, and I have seen where it has been possible, that I think, same thing, Argentina, Brazil, Mexico, these countries have said we're going to own our own. How did the Asian tigers come about? The Singapores, the Malaysias, they defied, and they said we're going to, but they defied with a plan and a purpose and an objective. It's not going to happen overnight. These institutions talk about poverty alleviation all the time. If we give them a plan that executes on poverty alleviation, it's a win-win. It's a win-win.
Okay.
But you have to have people at the table who are able to negotiate from a position of strength.
And it's
Dr.
not,
Membe?
it's not, we don't have a choice,
Okay.
Peter. We don't have a choice. It's like you. Oko mukongwere rupia mukongwere kaloba. That person who are kaloba starts to run your home. Because you have borrowed from Dolika Kaloba. Dolika now has to decide everything that is going on in your home. Which child to buy shoes, which child to buy a pair of trousers or a dress, what to be eaten at breakfast, lunch, supper, how many meals you should have in a day, which schools your children should go to, and what is the nature of those schools, how much you should give it to your parents, when you should get married or you should divorce.
What about the troublesome relative,
Yes.
Dr. Membe, in that context?
If you have...
Where you know a Zambia that was in trouble, and you know that you might be spending carelessly here, or you might not spend the money where you need to spend it.
If
So
the lender has to control you to that degree, Kanabesa, it's better in Congole you don't get it. We send in Congole kane na tatu akwanishie.
That's the plan.
Even us as leaders, we have to look at that every day. If we engage with the IMF, the World Bank in this way, where are we going to take this country? Where are we going to take our people? Is it worth it? It's not worth it. Even you as an individual, you have evaluated in Congole. You have said how we opted in Congole. Nalabama problems. Let's just reduce the number of meals per day. If you are eating 3 meals, certain things you are doing, you start cutting off. What you don't know, you have to learn to survive. We want to engage the World Bank and the IMF in a different way, but we don't have the skills to do so. We have to acquire those skills first, quickly. We have to acquire those skills to deal with the IMF and the World Bank in a manner that is beneficial. Nobody, what we can't do for ourselves, nobody will do it for us. That's the way it happens. That's the way the world is ruled. What you can't do for yourselves, nobody will do it for you.
Doc and Ms. Banda.
Say,
Okay, under 30 seconds, we need to open the phone line.
If you had asked Kaunda, Kapwepe, the Winners, the Kamangas, the Fulanos, the Kankasaks at that time, do you think what you're doing is possible? What do you think they would do? Why put their lives at risk? Why put their wherewithal at risk? Why put their comfort levels at risk if they don't have a conviction and a belief that the impossible can be made possible by our mindset and our drive and our own bold ambition? Let us set our own course.
And the experience of leadership matters. You have brought in a very interesting point. You know, Vatata Kapwepwe had problems with his friends in unity, because he had the experience that his colleagues did not have. Vakapwepo in 1952 went to India to study. India had just become independent in 1947. So he went to India at a very crucial time when there were transformations of that country. And he saw it. India was a poor country, just like ours. So when he came back, he came with a lot of experience. That was difficult to translate at that time to the colleagues. If you read his writings, they make very abrupt statements. He's the only one who was talking about neo-colonialism. Abatuleta mfyangala to change it, bakabwela in this form or that form. He was the only one talking about that. The colleagues were not understanding that. He was way, way ahead. What I'm trying to say is you need an informed leadership globally. And we are lucky. We have here who has worked in these institutions, understands them. And it's a plus, we have to deal with them. Some of the people we may have to deal with, they are workmates of hers. She can ask them, how do we navigate around this? What are you trying to achieve with this? How can we deal with this? If it So having these experiences in the financial system, others in the military, like Lieutenant Colonel Professor Naison Ngoma, we have in the health sector one of the continent's top health economists, Dr. Musumari. It's easier to deal with these things.
Okay, Dr. Membe, we'll have to get the people involved. I'll have to stop you there. In case you're just joining us, this is the Hot Seat right here on Hot. The heat is on the show. We have the People's Pact 2026 August presidential candidate, Dr. Fred Membe, joining us in studio with his running mate, Ms. Dolika Banda. If you have a question or contribution, this is now your time to be part of this conversation. Good morning, you're through to the hot seat. Good, how are you doing? What's your name?
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Lawrence, I have to stop you there. Lawrence, I think you've asked enough questions. Let's give enough time to other listeners. Thank you. It's 0974-870-877, it's 0950-955-877. Let's restrict ourselves to asking one question so that the duo in here can answer as many questions as they can from different individuals. Good morning. Good, how are you doing? What's your name? All right, Christian, please go ahead with your question. We have the People's Pact President and running mate in studio, Dr. Membe and Ms. Banda.
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm very well, Christian. Thank you for calling.
I want
Okay. All right, Christian. All right, Christian, thank you very much. Thanks for your question. It's 0974-870-877, 0950-955-877. Those lines get you through to the hot seat this morning. We'd like to hear from you. Remember, restrict yourself to asking one question. Good morning. Morning to you. What's your name? Robson, please go ahead with your question. All right, thank you very much, Rapson. Let's squeeze in one more call, then we'll allow our panel to tackle those questions. It's 0974-870-877 or 0950-955-877. Those lines get you through to the hot seat this morning. We're live on 87.7 here in Osaka, live on 93.3 FM on Kwitu FM, live on Kanel FM on 97.7 FM in Lundazi. Good morning. Good, how are you doing? What's your name? Kelvin Banda, please go ahead with your question. Okay. All right, Kelvin, Zuko. All right, Doc, Madam Banda, the floor is yours. Let's tackle these as quickly as we can.
Let me start with the debt restructuring and poverty levels that are increasing when we are being told there is economic growth. Indeed, poverty levels are rising. When we are being told inflation is going down, we are now at 7.1%. But we have to understand that there are two sides of an economy. There's the money side and the goods and services side. You can have good economic indicators by improving the money side. You have good inflation. They say inflation is too much money chasing too few goods. It's correct. So if you want to reduce inflation, what do? You can reduce the too much money without increasing the too few goods. When you reduce the too much money using monetary instruments, which are many, the Bank of Zambia can resort to. You can increase your statutory reserve ratios, you can issue treasury bonds, you can increase interest rates and so on. Within a short period, 6 months or so, you can manage to really reduce drastically inflation without increasing the production of goods and services. When you reduce the money supply, you hear people start complaining that Kamuli impia nashu and so on. When you reduce that, you are also hitting demand. It means people now cannot buy what they used to buy. If they were eating 3 meals, they start eating 2 meals or 1 meal. If a family is eating 1 meal or 2 meals from 3, it means what they were buying in the markets also reduces. When what they were buying in the market reduces, what the suppliers, the farmers to the markets supply also reduces. What that marketeer used to buy after selling, passes through some grocery shops, buys sugar, buys this and that, also reduces. Where that grocery shopkeeper was ordering things also reduces. Production also goes down. When production goes down, the jobs go down. People lose jobs. But your inflation is showing to be good. But also, don't be cheated. Reduction in inflation does not mean reduction in prices. Reduction in inflation is simply a reduction in the rate at which they are to pay the amounts. But also, they are not stopping there. They are still borrowing. So they are still borrowing. There will still be a debt burden in the future. Probably that will be worse than what we have today if we are not careful. You have the debt of yesterday that has been pushed to the future. You have the debt of today that will have to be paid in that same future.
Okay. Dr. Membe, I'll ask that you and Madam Banda run through the remaining ones. We only have 3 minutes to the close of the show. So I'll just ask you to be very brief as you respond to the rest of that.
I think there was one about institutional changes. Why
Yes.
has the pact or the opposition not taken people to court, not taken UPND to court? You take people to court when you know that there is some level of independence. The problem that is being raised here is that we have blurred the lines to an unhealthy level between the legislature, the judiciary, and the executive. And there is no time. You take people to court, it can go on until after the 13th of August. So the court we have today, please people, the court we have today with the things with which we are unhappy is us the voter, us the active citizen. It is the ballot box that is going to put some of these things in control, in check, and on the table. That's what I'd like to say about that. On the youth, my brother, ulanga pamenzo twende olangana pamenzo ukalanga muntu menzo ndiye bawona kuti kapena uyu muntu ukamba zoona or kapena uyu muntu onifyeka kulangana pamenzo tikolangana pamenzo chati tileke kuchita ni kulanga muntu kwakufuna chitundu chakulamira wakuonekera ni sweta ni wofipa ni wolemala ni mfupi ni mtani ivo veve sati tikochita whether you are youth or you are not youth, those positions for allocating assets, opportunity, we will not do. We will not do. The second point, which is a constitution should be a stable document established in what we dream of for this country. You will always have a constitution. You will also always have amendments to constitutions. The US Constitution is turning 256 years this year. They are celebrating, I think, in the next month or so. It's the same constitution. It has been amended. But amendments come only at the request of the people. It is not the power that says we're going to make these amendments and then we're going to bring them to you. It is the people who say, according to the Constitution, this is discriminatory, this is not serving us, so then you need to look at it, you people in leadership and in the judiciary. And then what happens? You go to the people, you canvass the country, and give them ample time to look at it. So, and we cannot sit here and say we will not amend the Constitution. It is a document that is supposed to serve a dynamic world and a dynamic country and a dynamic generation.
In closing, I want you to, both of you, address under a minute this question of who brought it forward? The issues to do with opposition unity. Christian, he says, you as a People's Pact, you look to be the one that's organized on one hand, and you have the Tonse Alliance on one hand that also look to be very organized in the opposition. Why aren't you uniting to form one big, strong pact going into the August elections?
Well, Christian, the issue of opposition unity is something that we're working on every day. We are not doing it under social media pictures like others. We are not posturing about it. We have spent a lot of our time, and we have been spending a lot of our time trying to get this unit, including yesterday. I'll disclose to you that yesterday we had a meeting at the Heritage Party offices, which included Honorable Makebi Zulu, Honorable Fube, KBF, we had the Honorable Koplande, we had the Honorable Simbao, we have the Musa Dodia, we have Rumba Kalumba, we had the Chalkateka, we had the Gaston Sichawe, we had